Welcome to the Breakup Recovery Podcasts by your host, Barbara Stevens. Discover the wisdom and remarkable insights of Barbara Stevens, breakup recovery mentor, author, and public speaker. Barbara offers programs and solutions for any breakup so you can turn your life around, create lasting changes for the better, and embrace life again.
Hello and welcome to Breakup Recovery Podcast. I'm Barbara Stevens and I'm a breakup recovery mentor. In this episode, I have with me Paula Groothuis.
Thank you.
So Paula, tell me how you got involved with Divorce Force.
Well, one day I was sitting on the train on my way to the city, and a man across from me, we just happened to, be friendly and start a conversation. And, what do you do for a living? And he tells me that he's running this company, Divorce Force, which, was really interesting to me because I've been through divorce actually twice. And he also asked me what I do. And I have a side business where I do poems on any kind of subject. And he asked me if I would write some poems about divorce. So I said yes. And I submitted them, and they've put them on their website. And they also inspired me to republish a book I had written that was basically something where I was expressing the, relationships, the pain that I had been going through. And it's called A Clearer Reflection. And, just about looking at life differently, once I felt like I became a whole independent person.
Well, chance meetings on trains and transport in general can lead to some amazing opportunities for people, can't it?
Exactly. It was a wonderful experience for me to be redoing this book and writing poems, and, really enjoyed it. And it made me think about different things. Like even one of the things I've thought about more probably since Divorce Force is how I am so grateful who my children are. And, when I think about their father, that he was my husband, and I'm grateful to him in a way because I wouldn't want my kids to be any different than who they are.
Exactly. So tell me about your divorce or one of your divorces.
Well, I think it was a little different for me than some people who fall madly in love and then something doesn't work or they didn't really know the person well. But to give you my story as short as I can, as a little girl, my mother died when I was turning 8 years old. And my father did remarry and life went on okay. But when I met my husband, I don't think it was so much that I really did fall in love. He was a very nice man who made me feel so secure. I had never felt that secure. And we married. But I think the adventurous, more, I don't even know how to express it, but, the grown-up adventurous part of me as the years went on, he wasn't really the right fit. So I moved on, and it all kind of worked out. Unfortunately, I met somebody that I guess was attracted to my more adventurous soul, but he wasn't the right person either. Anyway, and then I was divorced again, and I spent about 4 years on my own, dating a little bit, but also I went for the right therapy. Instead of regular therapy, I was really into spiritual healing. I learned yoga. I went to workshops, different retreats, and I really felt like I finally grew up. And actually, I have a significant other now who happens to be my second cousin. And I actually went back to my maiden name because I just felt I wanted to start over again. So that's basically my story. You have any other questions?
How long ago was your last divorce?
Approximately 1995.
So back then, I guess, delving into the spiritual side of yourself wasn't something that was very common.
You're right. It wasn't something I had been exposed to, but somebody had suggested that I spoke to this spiritual healing person and also suggested this retreat. And I started to learn how to meditate and just really live in the present moment and be a calmer person.
So do you still meditate?
Not as regularly, but I do sometimes. But I sometimes even in the car, I will listen to certain kind of messages while I'm driving with my eyes open.
So tell me more about the book that you wrote.
It's called A Clearer Reflection. It's funny, I'm following up right now with a book called The Same You, A Different View. But the book that I wrote back then, I divided it up in different sections where I talk about a motherless daughter. And, I just talk about how that was. And I also talk about how I felt being a mother and relationships, how it was to be alone. It's all rhyming. It's all poems. That's something that I've always loved to do. And I have a side business where I do poems for people for special occasions, which is a wonderful experience because I'm meeting with people who love the people they're talking about. But in the book, I have a section called Inner Pain. I have a section called Inner Child. Then I have a section called Growing. And then the last section is A Clearer Reflection, with a poem that says, Who am I? Balance. Look inside, which is just all kinds of, more positive thinking and moving on with your life.
So, Paula, do you think writing your poems helped you deal with your breakup?
Yes, I think it helped get the feelings out. I do. But basically, I think what was really, also, when you're doing something that you love to do, when you're so present in the moment, and that's how I am when I'm sitting and rhyming. So in that sense, I feel it also helps when you're doing what you love to do. But I really think, what helped me the most was when I had spoken to some psychologists. Not that they weren't helpful, but when I spoke to this more spiritual healer kind of person, it just helped me to accept who I was more and just really helped me move on and more content, peaceful human being than I was before, because I spent years crying. And now I hardly ever cry. So I'm very grateful for that.
So why do you think you were crying for those years?
I'm wondering if I was kind of grieving my mother. Because as a little girl, as sad as it was, everybody was there for me. I don't think I really cried that much when I was a little girl. And I'm wondering if I don't know for sure, but that's my guess. And, it's not easy going through divorce and transitioning your life either.
Do you think when you went through your divorce, it brought up feelings about your mother dying and probably you're not dealing with those feelings as a child? So that, when you go through another experience almost like the death of your relationship, the death of your marriage, it can bring up those unresolved feelings or the feelings that weren't dealt with when you were a child for the death of your mother.
It's, something that I think might be. Of course, I'll never know for sure, but very possible. And also, I always wanted to be a good girl and do the right thing. And going through divorce is also, a hard thing to tell your brothers and your dad and mom and your friends. I'm going through another divorce, and it's not an easy thing to go through in general. And also, I always wanted to be there for my children. I didn't want them to suffer from that either. So it was probably a combination. But I do feel that grieving my mother might have come up. Yeah.
So how did you and your husband tell your children that you were getting a divorce?
I think, I don't even remember it well, but I think we just sat down and told them that Dad was moving out and that they would be seeing him regularly. They weren't thrilled about it, but I don't remember them really crying either. They were young when that happened. And then through my second divorce, they were teenagers already, and they were okay. Because I really feel that when children still have two parents who love them and are there for them, that they will be okay. Because it's not an easy thing for children to go through. But both my children, I'm very proud of who they are today. And, my ex-husband was there for them. And my son once said he wanted to move in with his dad. And my response to him was, whatever makes you happy, just know I will always be there for you. And I never heard anything about it again. He never moved in with his dad. So I always felt that if I was totally there for them and that they would, and when their needs are met, I think they are able to move on faster. And I think that's an important thing for people to know.
So do you believe that for children to get through their divorce or not be affected so much by their parents' divorce, it's best that both parents get on and communication is vital?
Yeah, I do think, that the parents have to be honest with the kids, but also, just know that the kids need to know that both parents are there for them, love them, are supporting them. And, what can be very difficult too, we didn't really fight. And I'm sure that a lot of these divorced, the kids have lived through that, which is very hard. But I would like to think that, once the parents are apart, that they know mom loves me, dad loves me. Because sometimes it's not quite that easy. Mom and dad aren't seeing each other and the kids don't see the other parent enough. But I would like to think that, again, if the kids' needs are met, they're going to move on and do okay in life. And maybe learn something from it, because I think both my children married the right people.
Oh, that's great.
And they got married later also. And I think when you get married later, you know a little bit more about who you are and what kind of partner you really need.
Paula, would you like to read one of your poems to us?
With all my energy, I must now embrace this wonderful change taking place and know that even if I go backward a step or two, the hard part of the work is finally through. Acceptance and peace are invited to stay as the pain at last is ebbing away. Whatever the weather, I see the sunshine, and the days at last have become all mine.
That's beautiful, Paula.
You want to hear a relationship poem? I mean, this was how I felt at the time, and I called it Nurture versus Abuse. It's a little longer than the other one. My relationship with this man is so confusing. Is it nurturing or is it abusing? The love is deep, it's always there, but there's so much too that we don't share. Like values that run way down deep inside. Understanding and acceptance are things I have tried. I wake up each morning to greet the day and make it productive in some personal way. I talk to people in a civilized fashion. Daily anger with him is part of his passion. He knows how to love from the depths of his soul, but coming to terms with his life should be his ultimate goal. If not, he'll never really be free. If not, he'll never completely have me. So that was one poem that was specifically about somebody I was seeing at the time.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Paula.
And thank you, Barbara.
I have a great appreciation for people who can write poetry. Thank you very much for coming on Breakup Recovery podcast and sharing your story, and also sharing with us your book on poems about divorce and getting through divorce.
Thank you for all your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing your beautiful poems with us.
Thank you. It's I write children's books now, rhyming children's books with self-esteem message, and one is called Peace in Our World, about us all getting along. So I'm trying to get these kinds of messages out there in rhyme.
Where can people get your book?
Well, they can always email me, but also Amazon has my books.
And where can they email you?
pgoo@optonline.net.
If you feel that you are still struggling with your breakup, if you are experiencing intense feelings of anger, resentment and bitterness, and it is taking over your life, I'm here to help you in this area of moving on and coping after your breakup. I work with my clients one-on-one through my mentoring program. If you want to learn more about how we can work together, contact me via email or my Facebook page, Barbara Stevens Breakup Recovery Mentor, and book in for my free 30-minute sounding board session, and we can set up a time that suits. In this free session, you will walk away with clarity about your situation, strategies and tools to start building the future you deserve, so together we can start your journey of recovery. All my information is on my website, www.barbarastevens.com.au. If you don't want to miss an episode of Breakup Recovery Podcast, subscribe on iTunes, and I would appreciate it if you could take the time to write a review and rate the podcast. Also, feel free to message me with any questions that you have about Breakup Recovery podcasts or subjects that you want me to cover in future podcast episodes by clicking on the contact button of my website or my Facebook page. I'm always looking for ways to help you recover from your breakup. And the last thing I'd like to say is, be gentle on yourself. You deserve happiness.
If you would like to hear previous Breakup Recovery podcasts, visit barbarastevens.com.au. Connect with Barbara Stevens on social media with Barbara Stevens Breakup Recovery Mentor on Facebook and at You'll Be Okay on Twitter. Read further blogs, view webinar replays, and download your free ebook, 3 Easy Steps to Surviving Your Breakup, and much more at barbarastevens.com.au.